Hello and a very warm welcome to Parliament this week, your weekly roundup of all important developments in Parliament. I'm Kriti Mishra, and normally we bring the show to you from the Parliament House complex. But in this era of social distancing, we're working from our respective homes. And now, let's begin the show. On the first day of Lockdown 4.0, Rajya Sabha Chairman Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla held a meeting in the chamber of the chairman and discussed, among other important issues, the issue of virtual meetings of parliamentary committees. This was the second meeting of the presiding officers of both the Houses of Parliament in the matter, having first discussed the issue on the 7th of this month. During their first meeting, the presiding officers directed the Secretaries General of both the Houses to examine all issues concerning the meetings of the committee by video conferencing for submission of a report for further consideration. And then, on the second meeting, the two officials of the Parliament briefed the presiding officers on the discussions they've held so far, and in particular about a safe technical platform for video conferencing to be provided by the National Informatics Centre or the NIC. The two officials were directed to submit a detailed report at the earliest for further consideration. They also informed about the technical arrangements to be put in place for enabling video conferencing and the issues likely to be faced during virtual meetings of the committees. Chairman Naidu and Speaker Birla also exchanged feedback on the activities of the members of Parliament during the corona pandemic and restrictions on their movement in some states as reported by the respective MPs. And now moving on, Vice President of India and Chairman of Rajya Sabha Venkaiah Naidu has underlined the need to adopt new ways of living in corona times and suggested a 12-point framework for this new normal to deal with the virus, learning from the lessons so far taught by the corona pandemic. He stressed on the need for new attitudes towards life and humanity amid indications of the virus likely to stay for longer than earlier expected. Soon after the announcement of Lockdown 4.0 with restrictions substantially relaxed, Chairman Naidu wrote on Facebook a detailed 1,539-word article dealing at the length the philosophical and moral issues thrown by the COVID-19 pandemic and the way life needs to be lived henceforth. The main thrust of Chairman Naidu being that life can't be lived in isolation, and the virus outbreak highlighted the interconnectedness of lives. He said, and I quote, "What affects one person anywhere affects everyone everywhere, be it the disease or economy," unquote. Giving an account of the nature of life before corona, Chairman Naidu stated that man has emerged a loner in his quest for happiness and material advancement, reducing the family and the society to being mere adjutants, and his confidence bordering on arrogance made him believe that he can live alone and all by himself, unmindful of the lives of others. He wrote, and I quote, "Stacked with better tools to fight the epidemics than when the pestilence struck humanity earlier and empowered with gene editing, artificial intelligence, big data, etc., man was seeking to play God," unquote. On the life after corona, Chairman Naidu noted that it has shaken the fundamentals of living by oneself and highlighted the need for living in harmony with nature and fellow humans. He observed, and I quote, "The invisible microbe once again proved that life can change very quick. It brought into full play the uncertainty that one can co-sail with in life." The Vice President felt that the pandemic raised questions about the meaning and purpose of life, including the nature of relationships with fellow beings and moral issues connected with the current pathways of development, given their impacts on nature and equity. He said, "The virus has highlighted the consequence of economic fault lines in societies created by development pathways in terms of the impacts. Uncertainty continues to haunt the people. Uncertainty is the known source of anxiety, which can lead to psychological issues. How to deal with this problem? To stay calm and be confident and adopt a normal life. Stating that the goal of any civilization is to enhance the likelihood of survival of human beings, Chairman Naidu stressed that the corona challenge is more a civilizational issue than that of individual lives, and new norms and ethos of living should be evolved to save the present civilization. Noting that life can't be lived for long in confinement, Chairman Naidu welcomed the new relaxations for Lockdown 4.0. Referring to the people living with HIV virus that had no vaccine for a long time, by changing habits, Chairman Naidu urged the people to learn to cope with coronavirus by changing the habits and attitudes towards life and fellow humans if the virus stays with the people for longer than expected. He suggested a 12-point new normal of living during corona times. This includes living in harmony with nature and fellow beings, knowing that safety and security of lives are interconnected, rationally analyzing the impact of every movement or action on the spread of virus, not responding impulsively to the situation and instead living in confidence, keeping faith in science which can come up with a solution to the problem. Strict adherence to the behavioral changes ushered insofar like wearing masks, maintaining physical distance and ensuring hygiene. Preventing stigmatization so that the infected volunteer for treatment. Checking disinformation and prejudices against fellow citizens as carriers of the virus and replacing the sense of collective helplessness by the spirit of the virtue of living interconnected with shared destiny. The Vice President urged the media of all kinds to disseminate correct and scientific information about the virus and the disease instead of presenting them as a catastrophe. Chairman Naidu called upon the people to live differently and live safe. Unquote. And moving on, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu expressed anguish at the loss of lives due to Cyclone Amfan and appreciated the administrative machinery of West Bengal and Odisha for ensuring timely evacuation of people. The extremely severe Cyclone Amfan has left several people dead and ravaged Kolkata and several parts of West Bengal. He said, and I quote, "Deeply anguished by the loss of lives and devastation caused to crops and public and private properties by Amphan cyclone in West Bengal and Odisha. VP Naidu appreciated state administrations for timely evacuation of lakhs of people to safer places and undertaking rescue and relief operations in coordination with the National Disaster Response Force in the affected areas. He also spoke to Union Minister Babul Supriyo and Rajya Sabha MPs Manas Ranjan Punya and Sukhendu Shekhar Roy to ascertain the impact in West Bengal following the landfall of the cyclone. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla also spoke to more than a dozen MPs from Odisha and West Bengal and urged them to ensure all possible help to people in coastal districts in view of super cyclone storm Amphan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a rehabilitation package of 1,000 crore rupees for the cyclone-affected West Bengal and 500 crore rupees financial assistance for Cyclone Amfan hit Odisha.
Prime Minister Modi first visited West Bengal, which has suffered the most due to the cyclone. The Prime Minister and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, along with State Governor Jagdeep Dhankar, conducted an aerial survey of the affected regions to take stock of the trail of destruction left by the severe cyclonic storm Amphan in the state. Prime Minister Modi surveyed the large-scale devastation at Minakha, Namkhana, Hingalgunj, Gosaba, Bashirhat, and vast areas of the Sundarbans. Thereafter, the Prime Minister chaired a meeting of all senior officers of the state and central governments to review the relief and rehabilitation measures being undertaken in West Bengal. The Prime Minister also announced an advance interim financial assistance of 1,000 crore rupees for immediate relief activities to the state of West Bengal. The Prime Minister also announced 2 lakh rupees compensation to the families of the victims killed in storm-related incidents.
तत्काल एक टीम आएगी और वो टीम इन सभी क्षेत्रों में सर्वे करेगी और हम मिल की घड़ी में राज्य सरकार को कठिनाई न हो इसके लिए एक एडवांस असिस्टेंस के रूप में 1,000 करोड़ रुपया भारत सरकार की तरफ से व्यवस्था की जाएगी। साथ साथ केंद्र सरकार, राज्य सरकार और हम सबकी संवेदनाएं हैं और इस संकट की घड़ी में हम उनके साथ हैं।
And now moving on, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu said that all countries must come together to isolate nations that support and abet terrorism. In his message on Anti-Terrorism Day, Chairman Naidu paid tributes to men and the women who sacrificed their lives to safeguard the motherland from the evil of terrorism. He said, and I quote, "Terrorism is the enemy of humanity and the biggest threat to global peace. All countries must come together to isolate nations that support and abet terrorism in any form. Fight against terrorism is not the responsibility of security forces alone, but the duty of every citizen to fight the evil." Unquote. Well, that's all I had for you in this edition of Parliament This Week. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.